Yebo, sanibonani bonke. So, hello everybody. Help Save Our World Speak, number 48, Re-educating Humanity. Hello and welcome to our 48th Help Save Our World Speak online speakers meeting, where we are changing the conversation to change our world. I'm Dennis, the teacher of this quest for the truth, change, and transformation. Let's start with our introductions. Please introduce yourself, Kurt.
Okay. I'm living in Hollywood, Florida these days, where we're experiencing the joy of new possibility and transformation in our government. And we're also feeling the blessing and cleansing of rains and winds blowing all that past 4 years away. So we can start to put in more realistic concepts and trends into the daily lives of Americans.
Excellent. Thanks, Kurt. Brendan, please introduce yourself.
I'm Brendan. I'm from South Africa. I'm 25. I'm on this journey with Dennis to get to that point where we can start creating eco-villages.
Excellent. Thanks, Brendan. Alex?
Hi, I'm Alex. I'm also here in South Africa, and I am here to try and change the hearts and minds of those around me to help change the world.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Alex. As I go through my introductory speech today, I want you to really think about it. Think it through, jot things down that sing to you, and come up with more and better alternative ideas about changing our education system. This is a team effort. It's a conversation. So prepare yourself to make a positive contribution when you get to speak. And as a result of these teachings, I challenge you to question the status quo. Think about your social responsibility, your responsibility to your children's life and nature. Then change the way you raise your children and to challenge others to do the same thing. I challenge you to become a pioneer, a future leader, and a spreader of this natural wisdom. In this way, changing the conversation to change our world so that we can help save our world together. Okay, so let's begin. Having analyzed the Christian national education system over the past month, we have uncovered the hidden truths, purpose, design, and structure of this institutionalized power-serving system, which is designed to perpetuate their pyramids of power, to make the rich richer and the poor poorer, and to literally destroy our world in the attempt to do so. I just have this vision in my mind of looking back at ancient Egypt, and there's just desertification everywhere, and the pyramids have collapsed and everything is devastated. In the attempt to accumulate such wealth and power, that's what's left. That's what they achieved. Is that success or failure? Now that we know the truth about our education system, what it is designed to do, how it does it, and the harm it does to our children and our world, empowered with this truth, insight, and perspective, we can now make better choices and not make the same mistakes again. So with open eyes, we can now begin to imagine a better future. But what do we teach our children, and how do we teach them? What will that education be? What will its purpose be? And how do we teach it? Should we be teaching our children all about life itself and how to live it? As you saw from last Sunday's meeting video, and all that we have learned so far on this quest for the truth, we urgently need an education system to help save our world and prepare ourselves and our children to grow and manifest a future we all deserve to live in. A new natural education system that teaches things like how to live life in a natural world. I mean, of course, that's what we're doing, aren't we? And the meaning and purpose of life. Why are we here? Who are we? What are we? Where do we come from? And where are we going? What is self-alignment and our alignment with the flow of nature and life? We need an education system that's based on truth, love, empathy, natural wisdom, and how to live true to nature and who and what we are. If we wish to stop the extreme suffering and our ultimate extinction, and the extinction of many other species of life, which is suffering right now around the world. And if we want to reduce the wars, poverty, crime, violence, refugee camps, hunger, plundering, wars, and extreme suffering happening around the world right now, which is getting worse as we speak, as we race all life off the cliff of extinction. With our current system, we need to change now. To do this, we need a new natural religion and a new natural education system that teaches all about life and how to live it the best way we can and to the full. Like today, we were out there playing and singing and having a magical time. Why don't we live like that all the time? To ensure that we and all life live amazing lives, survive and thrive into the future. Why aren't we preparing for that? I know there are people who are creating new education systems in many places around the world, having their hearts in the right place, but not many knowing the fundamental knowledge, skills, and wisdom that they need to know to ensure that they achieve what they intuitively know they wish to achieve. And I know this process could grow organically as people awaken, become more aware and more conscious. However, there are just so many forces, people, organizations, and religions with misleading agendas who will do anything to disrail this natural awakening process if they're allowed to ensure that, of course, they remain in power and in control over the people of the world and keep on plundering, taking. And we all know that this transition needs to happen and happen fast. We all know that we have basically one last chance to get this right. And that's where these secret teachings, which I have discovered and uncovered throughout my life on my quest for the truth, come in. These teachings are designed to empower you, your children, and the people of the world with the knowledge, skills, and wisdom that you and they need to make the best choices so you and they can create the best possible future and never be lied to or misguided again. To achieve the best results, we must teach our children and all of humanity all about life. We need to give them first of all, they need to have hope, knowing that, if we just do something, we have hope. And the desire, of course, to become the difference the world needs now. Then we need to give them the realization that they have the right to live healthy, happy, and abundant lives with their basic human rights to a healthy environment with access to knowledge, wisdom, land, food, and water, unpolluted, in its pristine, magical streams flowing, and where you can drink from the stream. It's so amazing. And we need to give them a common world-saving vision of this happy, healthy, and sustainable future for all life. If we're striving for one common human vision, we're likely to achieve it. Then we need a common purpose to create that future by living their life naturally while spreading and nurturing life, sowing the physical seeds and nurturing and growing that abundant living future. We need to teach them so that they can begin to sow the seeds of thought in the hearts and the minds of others, spreading the truth, knowledge, skills, and wisdom of life and nature to the people of the world. That's like one of our fundamental responsibilities, is sharing what we've discovered, spreading the desire for all of us to live simple, natural lives, living in alignment with the flow of life, and showing and guiding others to do the same, living in alignment with all of our living ecosystems of Mother Earth, even like not just small contained ecosystems, but the whole Mother Earth, our environment, the atmosphere, the air, the land, the rivers, the streams, the forests, the jungles, the lands, the wetlands, the swamps, the reefs, the oceans, and the living energy flows of Mother Earth. You need to give them the ability to decentralize, to get out of the cities, out of their boxes, while creating and growing sustainable teaching eco-villages around the world. Creating a world where everyone only takes what they need and constantly gives back. And is living in this giving and receiving a world where we all live in love. Love, it's like, do you love humanity? Do you love our world? I think that needs to be, do you have a belief in humanity and that there is a fundamental goodness of all humans and that we all care about our children? We all care about our planet. There is like, yes, there is a small percentage of negative and destructive people, and there is a percentage of our behavior that's not good. And we've been conditioned into negative behaviors. But 90% of people in their heart and soul are kind, loving, amazing people. We need to have that love. And we need to recreate the balances of nature and live in harmony with one another to achieve that magical vision. Growing this world by practicing this philosophy, natural agriculture and permaculture, to sow the seeds and nurturing the babies to grow our abundant living future. Of course, there's so much of this wisdom in these writings and teachings, which I cannot put into the speech, but it is in planting good, loving, kind, and positive seeds of thought in the hearts and minds of others and our children that we grow the future that we deserve to live in. Think of who you could inspire to make a difference today and write their name down. I'm going to stop here and you guys can do your thing, and then I can come back to this and continue because it's a bit long. So anybody want to add what they think or would like to say? Good.
Do my thing, eh? Okay. No, I'm fairly aligned, as you can imagine, with what you're talking about. I made a couple of notes, but I don't think they're relevant to the moment now. Actually, I will speak into it. Why not? Why put it off? And I think the main thing is, when you'd mentioned, I think that it was 90% of people are living or want to live in love or come from love or whatever it is. And maybe because of the current turmoil we've had in this country the past week with the voting and the current many months prior to the voting and the many years, as you guys probably know, that there's a big divisiveness in this country. And the divisiveness keeps many people from even listening to what could be helpful or valuable to them. So as we speak about changing the world and impacting the world and changing people's conversation, for me, yeah, that's what I guess my life work has always been about on many levels. But it's in our face in this country. And we get, as you know, that leaders can impact and influence. And as you get, the particular leader we've had here has impacted the world in many ways which don't seem very progressive or productive or moving us forward out of the destructive divisiveness that exists. So as I hear you talking, Dennis, I agree fully, and it's up to us to figure out how we can embody the inclusiveness, I guess, despite the divisive mentalities that exist. And as you know, they're very strong. And I'm just talking about the opinions of the citizens of this country, never mind the influences that the corporations, the government entities, and all the other societal trends that are happening over and above just the citizens. So yeah, we have our work cut out for us. We're not looking to create the desertification of the US, similar to what Egypt lived through. And as we all know, we're at a more critical point in the shifting and possibility of the earth than we have ever known, at least in our lifetimes in our written history. So we have a big challenge ahead of us. And the main one is to maintain ourselves clearly on the path of possibility and sustainability and inclusiveness. And at the same time, realize that I don't know what we get to realize, whether we're going to be able to create critical mass that will shift a global consciousness into those concepts, or whether we'll just be a bubble amongst all the other things going on. And maybe we'll meet other like-minded groups along the way. Whether it happens in our lifetime or not, we get to make as if it is, because we just have no other choice to do that. So that's my response to what your setup was, and kind of what's going through my mind as an American, but also as a global citizen.
Wow, that's so cool, Kurt. Ultimately, we are one humanity on this planet. We are one life force. We are one Mother Nature. We are this incredibly connected, we drink the same water, breathe the same air, we are this one organism of life, and we could be considered like, I don't know, cells within this living system. So ultimately, we are all related and connected. There is no separation. And it is one of the founding principles of these pyramid schemes to divide and rule. And that's what they have been doing. If they can turn us against one another and get us to fight with one another, then we're not looking at the people who are the real problem. And ultimately, it's our journey. As you brought up before, Dennis, it's about relationships, Yes, it is, because we need to regrow those relationships. How we do that? Oh my gosh, that's such an incredible journey, but we need to learn how to do that. So putting children in classrooms and separating them into desks and making them compete with one another, all of these things are disintegrating our humanity and our love and our compassion and our consciousness and our connectedness and our, all of those things are being destroyed through our education system. So I think first of all, it's that how we raise our children up until 5 years old or whatever, and then they start to get into learning more complex things, how we raise them through those, not just their formative years, but through their education. Because humans, we have to be educated into pretty high levels of understanding of our world for us to function in it. So what is that education going to be? I think that's, and I think part of that is how do we relate to one another? It's like Alex was inspired us in the car today. She put on music from the 80s, and we were saying, what's love got to do with it? But the energy in the car was magical. We created these incredible bonds and relationships just by the tone that she set. And those are the things. It's like, do we gather in circles to teach our children? Do we tell stories? Do we create an inclusive environment? All of those things are really in the design and structure of this new education system that we need to create for a better future. So it starts right from formative years all the way through. And of course, that awareness of what the governments are doing. If you can objectively look at that, it's like, oh my gosh, this is what these guys are doing, and I'm not going to let them do it to us. So I don't know. That's the way I feel about that. Alex?
Absolutely, and I think if teachers and educators around the world, just if there's any form of teacher in you, just bring it out to just start challenging the status quo and start adding these new ideas and concepts into the classroom will just motivate for change and bring up the questions and bring up items as they go. And soon we will have classrooms back outside in circles. Soon we will have kids thinking beyond the day-to-day norms and wanting to reconnect and wanting to be a part and contributing to the bigger whole and the bigger picture. So yes, challenge the educators, challenge the teacher within all of us to bring about change and to start the conversation so that we can actually change the thought process.
Kurt, would you like to respond to that?
No, I fully agree with it. I think that's exactly what we have to do is continue the conversation so that it does create the ripple effects, and certainly education is a primary place to do it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like the fact that Alex is saying challenge the teachers, like to start to step up and rethink what they're doing. And I think what I covered in this last, with everyone else in the last month was really an incredible eye-opening realization of really what the system is designed to do in its structure and everything. It's literally designed to perpetuate this power-based system. So, and that is destroying our relationships. It's destroying our humanity. It's destroying our empathy, our compassion, all of those wonderful human qualities that we need to be. So it's something that we literally need to get rid of. Like, bam, I do not do that to my children. What are we going to do? Do our kids need to learn maths and science? And do they need all of that? Yes, of course they do in this world, but they need to learn everything they need to know to transition into the world that we want to be in. So, and then our lives can become a lot more simple. And we need a lot less technology and all of that stuff in a much more simple, natural environment. So the transition is going to be our biggest challenge. Sorry, Brendan, would you like to talk?
No, Dennis, I've got nothing to add. Yeah, Alex pretty much said everything.
Awesome. Okay, so
I got a point before you move on.
Okay, go for it.
It's exactly with this. So with the new president-elect that we have here, his wife, who will be the first lady, is a PhD in education, and she's been a teacher for decades and decades. And if you do any study of Jill Biden or just reach her, you can find that she really has the dedication and direction that we're talking about. So coming from the past 4 years, where there was a move for privatization into charter schools and a complete dismissal of education and the needs of teachers, we're looking at a very exciting possibility of shifting that whole conversation into what we're talking about here. How can we re-empower teachers to actually educate the kids rather than just download junk into them? And as you know, education in this country has been used really as a propaganda enforcer, I guess is the best way to do it. So what we're talking about here in education is a very big shift. And I think the US may be headed towards that. Again, we still have a lot of the same old pressures and influence that will keep it back and hold it back. But we have that possibility here now. So if we're looking for the kind of change that we're talking about in this group, let's pay attention and do what we can to help the US in its change point now here. It's a deciding point, move in that direction. And it's a big order, but if we can shift, and as we can shift the US to get back on that path or get onto that path, which maybe we haven't been, then the possibility to shift the world exists, I think in a stronger sense than if we just do the same old and shift a couple of parts around the game board to make it look like something's happening. So I think there's a potentially exciting time to happen, especially since Jill Biden, who will not be a quiet figurehead first lady, will jump on this immediately. Probably this week, she's already putting together, some members of the group that will help enforce that. So there's good things potentially to come in the U.S. Let's stand and be intent that it will be in a direction that will help the world.
Okay, so now that's a brilliant sort of like perception and idea. It's like, oh my gosh, what the thing is yeah, I feel like I'm just talking onto the clouds, and the one transition step we're not making. You are presenting, these people that are doing a similar thing to what you're saying, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if only I could get to speak to these people, if only I could share my knowledge with these people, if only I could talk to Biden's, the first lady, to his wife, and say, can we just have a sit down for like maybe an hour or two, or maybe 3 or 6, or maybe a couple of days, and can we just like really look at this whole big picture? And if we could do that, or maybe if I could just send them my videos, is there some way to connect with these people who live in their bubbles all over the place, who I've tried many times to connect to groups who speak online, and they choose all of these same old speakers who are supposed to be the wise ones in our society. But there's somebody like me who's got like this incredible gift to give them, and they're not hearing me, and I'm not getting to speak on their platforms. So how do we connect and share this with them? And, maybe that's like a thing that we need to create, like a group of people that goes out and creates these connections to get us to go and share this wisdom with these people. Because I think that's like the next step. You've just brought up the next step to us, really, ultimately. So that's brilliant. I think that's incredible.
Yeah, I think that's our get to, almost our mandate for any group that has ideas worth sharing and promoting, is how do we spread them? Yep. And, there's lots of different ways in the world now to do that. This is one, of course, and, the various other things you're considering. But how do we get access to the people that have the money and have the influence and have the power to actually implement these things? Good question. We just keep on thinking of things and doing them. How do you get to Jill Biden? You write her a nice, concise letter and say, this is where I'm looking at. Is there some way I can help you or share with you in a little deeper sense? But as you got to be aware, there are probably already 1,000 other lobbyists knocking on her door saying, me. So it's
and that's the thing, is to get past the noise.
Yeah. I don't have the answer to that, Dennis, but I think it's what we all need to consider whenever we have a good idea, is how do we change that conversation, is how do we get to have a conversation first in order to change it.
Brilliant. Alex, Brendan, anything?
All good on my side.
All good here too.
Oh, wow. Okay, so with all of this in mind, re-educating humanity, young and old, into these natural wisdom teachings, our happy, healthy, and sustainable future will naturally unfold. The great awakening, awareness, consciousness, enlightenment, and the natural wisdom is happening around the world. And this particular wisdom is the wisdom we need now. So what are you doing to do it differently about how you are raising your children today? Now, that's if any of us, Alex has children, and she is consciously making a difference to making different choices with their son's education. Our new world will grow out of teaching this natural education, sowing the positive seeds of thought and life, while growing new life all around us, while nurturing ourselves and nature back into a healthy and abundant, thriving, living, balancing, harmonious, and loving world again. Our future depends upon us all living our lives responsibly. And that's like the biggest word. I wrote that whole book, Beyond the Age of Ignorance. And the word that I come up with right at the end, it's like, oh my gosh, we need to take responsibility for our lives, what we think and what we say and what we do. Making the necessary changes. So it's like in taking responsibility, we have choices to make, new choices, and then making the necessary changes. And by the natural code of life, knowing it's your responsibility and purpose of life to live your life to ensure that life goes on into the future as a result of your contribution to life. You are the carrier of the baton of life. So you are responsible for your perceptions, feelings, emotions, thoughts, choices, and actions. It is your responsibility and purpose to sow and nurture and grow a sustainable future for at least 7 generations into the future. It's your responsibility to be constantly living your life so you can leave the world in a better state than you found it in. And there's a lot of simple things, like Alex was saying. How much electricity are you using? Do you switch your lights off when you leave the room? Are you eating a vegetarian diet? So you're putting less demand on the natural living plant life ecosystems. You are nature within nature. You are the air, the water, the earth, the energy. What you do to nature, you do to yourself, and you do it to your children. The balances of nature are essential for our survival. Without the natural balancing ecosystems, it just reminds me of a story of a jaguar in the Amazon jungle, and it takes like 2,000 hectares of other living ecosystems to sustain one jaguar living in that ecosystem. Because, you know, it's like the whole chain of life, from the microorganisms to the insects to the, you know, bigger and bigger amphibians and blah, 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 all the way up to this jaguar. Now, we are top predators in our ecosystem. So if we destroy our ecosystems, what do we have to sustain our lives? We need that balance. And yeah, we are burning trees across the whole of the United States. We are destroying ecosystems. Willy-nilly, we're burning the Amazon jungle, destroying the ecosystems that sustain our lives. We go back to the image of Egypt, pyramids, no ecosystems. How are they sustaining their lives? By plundering the rest of the world to get what they need to survive. Why not recreate the ecosystems around them? So it's really important things like life gives life to life. For every carrot that we pull out the ground and eat, it's a living system that gives us life. It's so important to realize how tenuous our survival is and how dependent it is on all living systems around us. Living, thriving, biodiverse ecosystems create the complexity we need to survive and thrive. So biodiversity, that complexity of a jungle that creates all of the diversity that supports that jaguar or supports us humans, is so important. And we're literally racing all of those different systems to extinction. Without them, we're done. So we need to survive and thrive. All natural life, and especially plant life, naturally create the natural balances of nature. They sequester the carbon pollution to reverse the effects of global warming, providing the oxygen we breathe. The ozone is created with like 3 molecules of oxygen together. So that creates that warm temperature blanket, which maintains us. We're not just in the Goldilocks zone, but our temperature and balancing of the temperature of our planet is sustained by life. The problems of the world can be solved by growing life instead of killing it. We all have rights to a wonderful life, not just the rich. So tell me, what changes you're going to make now in your life to make that change happen? I'll stop here. Any ideas, Kurt, what you can do?
What a great question, Dennis. Certainly the small things I can do around me, taking care of what I own, responsibly repurposing it if I no longer need it, being attentive to gathering and accumulating things. Certainly I can work on mentally what's going on, the things I've collected, the beliefs, the habits, the rights that I think I have as a being on this earth. So when you first asked the question, I was, gee, do I have an answer to these big world questions right now that he posed it to me? And I tend to start when I get overwhelmed with those questions, like, okay, just look here, give it my little space, and then my little space here. What can I do to make those changes? So again, changing the conversation, changing negative habits, being aware of what impact I am having in the moment and how I can be responsible for that impact. And I think that's the level that most people could even possibly connect with, is what can I do personally, as you put out, in my life and my little interconnected but independent existence that can forward these concepts along. And again, you sit down and make a list of things you could do better today for the earth. Simple as that. And then maybe tomorrow is look over the list and say, is it complete? Do I need to add more? And check off a few. These are the things I can do easily, and these are the things that I need to work on. And we can go into getting accountability partners. Like making a list of to keep you responsible for what you've chosen or committed or declared you want to do the change. So those are the levels I think that will gather more people around us, as we're helping them find solutions for themselves that they can implement. And as they get successes in that and get more buy-in to, this is a more valuable way of living than littering or throwing towels down the toilet, or letting food rot in the refrigerator. And I own up to one of those things. The others I have in my life a long time ago. But those are the things that I think we can start to affect change, is when everybody can do their little bit and feel good and happy about doing it without feeling the overwhelm of saving the world. So that will come from everybody else doing their part and being responsible for what they can do to limit their impact and up their appreciation for the world that we live in. That's it.
Wow, that's awesome. I love the fact that you brought it into your own conscious thought, into your own physical body, your own reaction, like impact on the environment around you, because really, like bringing it back home to the simple things and building from there all the way out, like to things like writing a letter to the president's wife. It's like, I think this journey, as we began it, we started looking at our health, other people's happiness, our relationships, all of those things which you can deal with like every day at this time. And I think making a list is a fantastic idea. And then just doing one thing, just any one thing. Start with something. And the moment it comes to your mind, get up, as Alex had reinforced with her the other day, is the moment you've got it's the 5-second rule or something that she saw a TED talk from some lady. And it's like, let her explain it. Alex, it's your turn.
Okay, before I go into the 5-second rule, I just want to say, and I probably feel like I'm harping on it because I've been on this roller coaster all week, is I think challenge yourself is basically what Kurt's trying to say, and what we all really need to do is challenge yourself in to the status quo, challenge your thought process, be conscious, aware of the now, and your environment and the people around you. I mean, if you're able to do all of those things now and challenge them, challenge yourself to change, challenge yourself to make new decisions. And yes, absolutely, make a list and have a buddy to literally whack you over the hand. Say, hey, what, don't be buying fudge today like I just did. Okay, anyway. But challenge yourself. Absolutely. I think that's really what we need to do. Challenge yourself as a teacher, challenge yourself as a parent, challenge yourself as a human being on this earth, and be conscious of the electricity you use and the water you use and the environment you have. Plant a seed, plant a tree, and really challenge yourself, and challenge the society, challenge the things that you buy. Do you really need it? Are you just making some guy richer and you poorer by having it? Probably, and you probably really don't need it in the first place. So challenge those ideas. The 5-second rule, obviously, I watched a lady on TED Talk, as Dad mentioned. But it's basically a case of you've got 5 seconds to make a decision. So wake up 30 minutes earlier in the morning and don't hit snooze on your alarm. You've got 5 seconds to make a decision to make this the best day. Get up, rip those blankets off, get into that cold air and make a decision. Choose your day, choose your choose a topic. And if a thought comes into your head, oh, that looks like a really nice person to talk to, you've got 5 seconds to get up from your chair and go and talk to that person, because if you wait any longer than 5 seconds, you're not going to speak to them and you're not going to know what an amazing person they are.
Hey, Lorna.
Brendan, anything?
Yeah, well, I have started changing our garden, which has been a process. In terms to get us more sustainable within ourselves, so we don't have to rely on major corporations, major shops and stuff. We also, Kurt, are guilty of some of those things that you mentioned, I'm not going to lie, especially the wastage of food in the fridge. But I think all of us are, sometime or another in our life. But yeah, I'm trying to transform the garden at the moment so that we can plant some vegetables and stuff. We're making garden beds and creating ditches for stopping the rain and rockeries and all that at the moment. So yeah. And hey, Lorna.
Hey, good morning. I miss you guys, but I have a little time aside from, taking care of the baby. So I'm happy to see you guys. I cannot see anybody right now. Maybe it's my screen contact. Anyway, what I can contribute to right now is I can go down the list, but most likely you cover, just about everything. I just do 2 things. One, a practical thing to do, and the other one, the real thing. I lately have, I don't know what I got it from, but I became, I got into the habit of, I always do my bed, when I get up. But this time I'm doing this different for different reasons to set up my day. I have different ways to set up my day, go and see the sunrise and so forth. But this particular one, when I do the bed, I don't do it just to to do it and it's done. It's to accomplish the first task of the morning with dedication, being grateful because I woke up, and it has become a practice, a fairly new practice that grows up throughout the day. When I start doing the bed, I fold the sheets nicely, which I never did before. I just did it. And that kind of guarantee, quote unquote, for me, that the next task will be done with that kind of reverence and love and gratefulness. So that's a practical new thing I'm doing. And the other one is, as I always was striving to do better, do better, until I said, well, what about be better? So that's what I'm focused on, to be better. And then I don't have to worry about do better, and fill out my list of to do so much that most likely I don't accomplish because I put too much in it. But when I remind myself, and I have some signs around the apartment that said, be better. So that has been great and helped me a lot. That's about it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Lorna. It's wonderful to have you with us again. One of the things that I do is I try and do everything I do it to the best of my ability, but I do it with love. By making yourself a contribution, even if it's just washing the dishes and drying them and putting them away, or if it's when you're hanging up a t-shirt on the line, you could hang it up skew and you could hang it up inside out. Sometimes it's a good thing to protect your shirts from sunlight, But then when I get the opportunity to take them and turn them the right way around, so the person who's going to wear them now gets a shirt that they can put on, and then to basically fold it so that they can easily put it in their cupboard. It's just like all those little extra things that you pay attention to that makes it a gift of love to other people around you, and it makes their lives just that little bit sweeter. And although they might not notice it, you know it, you feel it. And living your life with love like that is magical, because then it just sets your energy tone. It makes you feel wonderful. And it's like, oh my gosh. And then your energy tone affects everyone else. So, yeah, it's just one of those things I do. Anyway.
I remember you telling me that about the putting the line, the clothes on the line.
Yeah.
And I never did it that way, but yes. I have to add something. I have to say that being so close to a baby, I have added so much to the way I feel, that pure receiving, love, because that is so pure, right? The love from a baby, and at the same time to give. So I haven't really felt like that in a long time, to receive and give at the same time, unconditional.
Wonderful.
And yes, so that has been beautiful. It's so easy, right? We just have to look for who wants to receive and who doesn't. And if it doesn't, we move on. I want to keep, using that with adults too.
Exactly. That's wonderful.
If I can, I just want to comment on what Lorna brought up, and actually the conversation that's going. What came up is, as you guys were talking, and it's something I've done on and off, is when I wake up in the morning, and somebody brought up to make a commitment to how you're going to be or what you're going to do some things first before you go to the taking care of yourself stuff of showering and combing hair and makeup or whatever the other nicety stuff is. It's like, just get a couple of things under your belt already from as soon as you wake up. Now, of course, stretch, do whatever your bathroom routine needs. But as one starts, and I think I got some of this being at the ashram when I was doing my yoga training, was there were 2 or 3, maybe even 4 hours between when we woke up and when we had breakfast. And there was time to meditate, there was time to do exercise, there was time to complete tasks and reading and study, whatever it was. So there was the ability to do things. And I think that starts the day off a whole lot differently than if we come out of sleep, which was a nice 7 or 8 or 9 hour doing this for ourselves, and then continue it for another hour or 2 until we get ready for the day. The day is waiting for you. And I'm connecting it now with what Lorna said. When there's a baby around, you really don't have the luxury to, I'll put the baby's needs aside for an hour or 2. The baby is demanding life happen right now, right? So when we focus out about what can I contribute to the world to begin my day, rather than what can the world give me today as far as all my comforts before I start the day, it's a very different perspective on how we're going to live our day. And I think it ties in also to what Alex mentioned as well. So this doing this, obviously, Lorna, you mentioned, you're in a beingness first, and that creates the things that you're going to do. Once we have created that aspect of who we are, then wake up doing things. And I'm speaking as a guy who spent much of his life not living that way, but I find it so much more valuable to get up and accomplish a couple of tasks before I go about building more comfort or ease for myself for the day.
I love that. The interesting thing is, I think something else that Alex has been doing lately is she's been waking up and getting on the treadmill like before she starts to go to work. And what that does is it sets her metabolism functioning at a much higher level throughout the day. But also what it does is it inspires others to do the same. So be the inspiration, lead from the front. Imagine growing a world where we all live as one family of life, in love, balance, and harmony with all life and Mother Nature. Imagine all humanity living for that future, awakened, aware, fully conscious, and empowered with the knowledge, skills, and wisdom they need to become a powerful force for change and the creators of our future. To do this, we need to create and design alternative ways to teach and educate and raise our children so they will naturally manifest the future they deserve to live in. And this requires reviving many ancient cultural teaching techniques like teaching in circles, telling stories, singing, dancing, music, play. It takes a tribe to raise a child. We need to come back together to create those tribes again, those relationships, regrow our relationships with one another and all life. Don't let them destroy that and take it away from us. The most important fundamental element of changing the education system is the re-education of parents. So they are wise enough to be able to make the choices for their children's education, to teach their own children with the best education they can, because they know the truth and they know what to teach their children. This process of empowering and preparing parents to educate their children will also empower them to transition to the future they deserve to live in. This empowerment will be in the form of providing them with the knowledge, skills, wisdom, and awareness that they need to facilitate their children's education and growth, while together they will be sowing the natural seeds of thought and life and growing and creating the vision of an abundant, happy, healthy, and sustainable future. All these elements coming together so that it can create a future age of reason beyond this age of ignorance. Are you willing and able to go on your own quest for the truth, change, and transformation, to change your life and to change the world that you manifest around you? Learning what you need to know to be able to wisely choose how to raise your children. Are you willing to do whatever it takes to change your life and our world? Are you a responsible guide, teacher, leader, and a society challenging pioneer who's willing to be able to be and create the changes that you were born to create in this world? Are you willing to remove your children from that sick government education system and change the way you raise them? Or are you just going to sit by and watch as your children, humanity, and all life on planet Earth suffers increasingly and becomes extinct, just because you didn't decide to stand up for what's right and change the education system for the benefit of all life on our home planet? Now is your time to act before it is too late. Thank you. Anybody can comment now. We've basically come to the end of our meeting time.
I couldn't be happier, besides my grandson, about this opening for homeschooling and all the implicated initiatives. I have been following that since I don't know how long, from Guatemala. There's some very open people try very hard to do it and end up being on their own, but then will go down. And a struggle, right? So I have been reading, even though I have not been participating in these meetings, but I have been following up, what you're talking about, the homeschooling. And interested enough, I was listening to another group, from Guatemala, happened to be from Guatemala, that the subject, when I saw your agenda that you were having with Rachel and, everybody that talk about the subject, they were doing just about the same. And that warmed my heart. So this is one of the beautiful payoffs opportunities with this pandemic, right?
Yes.
That that parents could become part of that. My only question is, I haven't resolved it here, is what to do with to socialize the kids that are in homeschooling. The far I can think is, as this homeschooling grow, maybe they can resolve the situation of the kids having someone to socialize with. That's my only concern. But if they really grow, then the neighborhood will be homeschooling. There would be like a community of homeschooling parents. So I'm just happy for it. In fact, the parents, my daughter and my son-in-law, they're thinking about that avenue too. So very
Excellent.
happy.
Kurt, you want to
Yes.
comment?
And I'll be there.
Yeah, just on the homeschooling thing, and I think initially it's going to be a bit of a problem with the socialization thing. You have to try and get friends and maybe create groups that your child goes to in that transition phase. Ultimately, when you're living in sustainable eco-villages, that won't be a problem because everyone will be involved in the children's education, because that's what it takes, a tribe to raise a child. That's the concept. So in a healthy, natural environment, that'll happen without any problems. But until we get there, maybe like, for example, having communal fields and places where kids get to go and play basketball and whatever, to create that sense of community and to learn how to socialize with others is fundamentally important in the development of a child. So, and that happens through play. So ideally, instead of fighting, ideally play. So maybe creating those situations where children get to play. And with Rochelle's school, it's a school that's based on play. So ideal, perfect situation, if you can afford it, you see, but not all parents can afford that situation. So maybe appealing to government and local government to create more facilities for children to play without interference from police and social services and all of that, because it that absolutely destroys that sense of community. So all right, guys, that was a wonderful, I think that was a magical meeting, and I think your contributions were incredible. So yeah, we can call it a day. If anyone wants to just stay and talk, you're welcome. So that we call that the sort of end of that formal part of the meeting. So yeah. All right. Bye, Kurt.
Bye-bye, guys.
Okay.
Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
Brenda.
Love you.
All right, Lorna. So you're gonna
Bye.
leave?
Love to you, Lorna.
All right. Cheers. Okay. Good, Alex. All right. Let's end
Cheers.
it.
Bye, Daddy.
Bye.